Welcome to the Finance Offer podcast. In this episode, we are diving into the hidden mechanics of minimum payment interest and exactly how banks generate revenue from it. To understand how these systems really work behind the scenes, let's start with a scenario that happens to thousands of people every single day. You are sitting on your couch on a Friday evening, wrapping up your week. You pull out your phone, open your banking app, and navigate to your credit card statement. The balance is sitting at $5,000. Maybe it is from an unexpected car repair, or maybe it is just the slow accumulation of groceries, gas, and a few dinners out that piled up faster than you realized. You look at that $5,000 number, and a tiny wave of anxiety hits you. But then, you look right below it. There is a beautifully designed, bright green button. It is practically glowing. And right next to it, the text says, "Minimum payment due, $100. You breathe a sigh of relief. $100? You can do that. You tap the green button. The screen gives you a satisfying little animation, maybe a green check mark, and a message pops up thanking you for your payment. You feel a hit of dopamine. You handled your business. You are a responsible adult managing your finances. You put the phone down and go enjoy your weekend. But behind that friendly green button is a mathematical treadmill, and stepping onto it is one of the most expensive decisions you can make. The bank is not relieved that you made that payment. They are absolutely thrilled, because by accepting that minimum payment, you just unlocked their most lucrative, reliable revenue stream. By the end of this episode, you are going to understand exactly how the minimum payment is reverse engineered to keep you on the hook for decades. You will see how the system is designed to look like a lifeline while acting like an anchor, and you will know exactly how to break the math in your favor. We need to talk about this because the cost of living is rising, and millions of us are turning to credit cards just to bridge the gap between paychecks. Credit cards are no longer just for luxury purchases. They are becoming a basic tool for survival for many working people. And yet, the underlying mechanics of how these cards actually charge you are completely obscured. The cost of misunderstanding this dynamic is devastating. It is not just a few extra dollars in fees. The cost is literally years of your financial life and thousands of dollars in invisible payments that buy you absolutely nothing. The structural reason this confusion exists is entirely by design. The system is built to look like a helpful feature. The bank frames the minimum payment as a courtesy. They present it as a flexible option for when times are tough. But in reality, the minimum payment is a highly calibrated financial net. We are taught by marketing, by app design, and by society to look only at the size of our monthly payment, completely ignoring the underlying timeline. As long as the monthly payment fits in our budget, we think we are winning. But the bank knows that if they can control your timeline, they control your wallet. First, let's look at how that minimum payment number is actually calculated. It is not a random number pulled out of thin air, and it is certainly not a number designed to help you get out of debt. The minimum payment is usually set at a tiny fraction of your total balance. Typically, it is around 1 to 3%, plus whatever interest accumulated that month. Why such a specific, tiny percentage? Because the bank's risk assessment models have calculated the exact minimum amount they can ask for without pushing you into default. If they asked for 20% of your balance every month, you would panic, you might go bankrupt, and they would lose their money. If they asked for 0.1%, regulators would step in. So, they find the Goldilocks zone, usually around 2%. They want you slightly uncomfortable, but never completely underwater. They want you to feel like you can just barely afford to keep playing the game. Next, we have to examine what actually happens to your money when you hit that shiny green pay button. This is where the illusion completely breaks down. When you send that $100 to the bank to cover your $5,000 balance, that money does not go straight toward the actual things you bought. The bank takes its cut first. They always eat first. If your credit card has an interest rate of 24%, which is incredibly common right now, the interest charge on a $5,000 balance for 1 month is exactly $100. Think about what that means. If your minimum payment is set at $115 and the interest charge is $100, then only $15 of your payment actually goes toward paying off your balance. It is like ordering a large pizza, and the delivery guy eats 7 of the 8 slices right on your front porch before handing you the box. You paid for the whole pizza, but you are only getting the crust. You are bailing water out of a sinking boat with a shot glass, while the bank is quietly drilling another hole in the hull. Here is where the math changes from a bad deal into a multi-decade trap. The compounding effect. Because you only knocked $15 off your principal balance, next month, the bank charges you interest on $4,985. The balance barely moved. And here is the truly brilliant, almost evil part of the bank's design. Because your balance went down by a tiny fraction, your required minimum payment for the next month will also go down by a tiny fraction. Next month, your app might say your minimum payment is only $114. To the untrained eye, this feels like a massive win. You made a payment, and now your bill is lower. You feel like you are making progress, but you are not making progress. The bank is simply dynamically adjusting your payment to stretch the timeline out even further. As your balance slowly shrinks, your payment shrinks with it, ensuring that it takes the absolute maximum amount of time to reach zero. Let's look at a practical example to show just how absurd this timeline gets. A major misunderstanding is what good standing actually means. We are conditioned to believe that as long as we make the minimum payment on time, we are winning at the credit game. You get a green checkmark on the app. Your credit score might even stay decent. The bank sends you emails thanking you for your loyalty. But being in good standing just means you are a highly profitable customer. It means you are successfully renting your own money back from them at a premium rate. If you take that $5,000 balance at 24% interest and you strictly make only the minimum payment as it slowly adjusts downward, you will not pay off that debt in a year. You will not pay it off in 3 years. It will take you over 22 years to reach a zero balance. And that original $5,000, by the time you make your final payment 2 decades later, you will have paid the bank over $10,000 in pure interest. You paid for the car repair once, but you bought the bank a first-class vacation to Europe just for the privilege of swiping their plastic. You spent 2 decades dragging a financial anchor because the app told you that paying the minimum was an acceptable strategy. To really grasp why this happens, we need to look at the deeper principle at play here. We need to look at incentive alignment. A fundamental misconception that most people have is that the bank wants you to pay back your money. They do not. If you borrow money, pay it back in full the next week, and never pay a dime of interest, the bank actually loses money on you. Processing your transactions costs them overhead. Providing the plastic card costs money. Running the app costs money. In the financial industry, they actually have a term for people who pay their credit card balances in full every single month. They call them deadbeats. Let that sink in. If you are financially responsible and pay your debts immediately, the banking industry considers you a deadbeat because you do not generate yield. The customer they actually want, the customer they build their entire business model around, is called the revolver. The revolver is the person who carries a balance month after month, steadily pumping interest payments into the bank's quarterly earnings reports. This reflects a much broader pattern in modern finance. The entire system is built on the commodification of your time and your future labor. When you carry a balance and pay the minimum, the bank is essentially buying your future cash flow for pennies on the dollar today. They are trading your immediate convenience for a permanent slice of your future income. They do not want to drain your bank account all at once. They want to set up a slow, steady drip line directly from your paycheck to their corporate treasury. The minimum payment is not a financial goal. It is a floor. It is a highly engineered profit mechanism designed to stretch your debt out for as long as legally and mathematically possible. But now that you understand the mechanics, you have the power to break the system. What you now understand is that paying the minimum is mathematically designed to keep you trapped. What you can now identify in the real world is that the friendly UI of your banking app is actually a psychological tool to keep you comfortable while you bleed cash. The structural clarity you have gained today is simple. You break the bank's mathematical model the second you start paying more than the minimum. Every single dollar you pay above that minimum requirement acts as a direct strike against your principal balance. It bypasses the interest filter entirely. If your minimum is $100 and you pay $150, That extra $50 skips the line and immediately destroys the debt itself, saving you exponential amounts of money and time on the back end. The next time you look at your credit card statement and see that green minimum payment button, you will not just see a convenient option. You will see it for what it is, a subscription fee for your own debt. You are no longer blind to the timeline. You are now equipped to look past the monthly obligation and take control of the actual cost of your money. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to continue learning how the financial system really works, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and leave a comment below with a financial topic you want us to cover next. Thanks for listening to Finance Offer, and we'll see you in the next episode.